Okay, so I'm just looking up the salary of the individual who was just sent this evening to park right next to where I'm working to criminally harass, stalk, and send a message of threatening and intimidation. That is Ottawa Special Constable Alex Galipeau. Make no mistake, that wasn't, if that was just a one-time thing, if he had been parked in such an odd area as that, one could dismiss it. They've been doing these things for over 2 years now, continually. Showing up wherever I go. They constantly will show up right when I'm leaving, right in front of my workplace, to purposefully harass me. Some of this is because I've uploaded videos exposing them as criminal stalkers who do no legitimate work, who basically just get paid to sit in their cars playing with their phones. And you can see here, Alexander Galipeau, according to this here, this is in 2023, he made $109,381. That's that criminal tonight. And when I saw where he had been positioned right near where I'm working, obviously intentionally, because no one would park on the back lawn of an area like that. And a regular person wouldn't be able to do that. It's just because most of these people involved in these public service positions are Freemasons, and they have no responsibility and no accountability. So they can break laws, go and park on lawns. Now, if he was going to be doing what he said he was doing and just, idling to write his report, he would have gone to the station, to the train station, and parked outside, as they often do, in the parking area. Instead, he's purposefully positioned right next to where I have to go to work, and he is simply sitting in the vehicle parked on a lawn. No one could do that except for people like this who apparently have special privileges. And when you look at the over 2 years of evidence I have of these people not only showing up just when I'm leaving to go to the train station or things like that, showing up all over different places of Ottawa, wherever I go, to purposefully harass and send a message of threatening and intimidation. And they continue to do it because I've exposed them consistently, and because these people are liars, criminals, and frauds, and everything that they do has to be done through deceit and manipulation. They have to utilize tactics like this to try and create some way of setting up a situation like what they did tonight, was to try and draw a situation where they could trespass me simply for going, because I wanted to get footage of the individual who had been sent to park and harass me right next to where I'm working. You don't do that for no reason. That's obviously when somebody's been dealing with these exact same things happening for 2 years and has documented evidence of these people being sent to specifically set up scenarios like this for 2 years. No reasonable person could equate that to it being something just random. So I wanted to capture the footage. So of course, if you approach these people, they can quickly, and speak to them, they can quickly make up any lie they want to say you're trespassing or whatever. So I just asked him for directions so as to create a reason to speak to him so that I could get him on camera, because I want to put the people who are doing these things to me out there so that the world can see them and understand what criminals they are. So, of course, they don't like that when you do that, because they don't like anything that calls them to accountability, because these are completely corrupt criminals who knowingly harass and stalk law-abiding citizens. Now, I'm a law-abiding citizen. I've never had so much as anything, not even a parking ticket in my entire life. Tonight, this criminal is claiming, openly lying, saying that they had trespassed me from the station before. That had never, ever happened on any occasion. There was one occasion when I approached one of them who had driven up right in front of my workplace, right as I was leaving, and then went to the station. As I was crossing to the station, I then approached these two cars, which were constables, just simply to ask for their identification, and also explaining to them I was asking for it because I was planning on filing a lawsuit against the city of Ottawa for the continued criminal harassment of these people who were doing things to purposefully let me know that it was intentional. You don't drive in front of somebody's workplace right as they're leaving over and over and over again for 2 years if it's not intentional. So on that morning, I had gone to speak to this person simply to request their information. When I did that, I crossed over onto the area where they were parked, and they said, okay, you have to go back, get off this area, go over there, which I did. I complied with them when they said that. And the one constable said she would then drive around and provide me with her information if I went over to the other area. I told her why I was requesting it, because I'm still compiling evidence to file a lawsuit, even though our judicial system is completely corrupt and clearly protects these criminals when they do these things. So they're given immunity to criminally harass and stalk law-abiding citizens like myself who have been unjustifiably put on watch lists by CSIS. They harass me as I'm going to my job. They send people to follow me continually. They send literally criminals and people who are involved in the drug trade to harass and attempt to intimidate me, even where I live. You've seen the evidence of that if you've seen my other videos. The police, people in the fire department, paramedics take part in this. And what common thing do these people all have in common? Well, these public servants, large numbers of them are all involved in Freemasonry. And that's admitted. That's not anything that they can try and take and say is conspiracy. That is admitted. That is on record. I have video footage of a situation where I spoke to a Toronto firefighter. At one point, when I had showed him my videos, clear evidence that they had been showing up literally everywhere I would go for like over a week, to all different locations, even on quiet side streets, to park in front of where I was and blare sirens the moment I would exit, which is criminal harassment. And so they enlist these people to take part in criminal harassment campaigns against law-abiding Canadian citizens. I have no criminal record, absolutely nothing like that. And my previous position, I actually had to get a government clearance to work there. So there's no possible way that you can get anything like that. You have to be spotless to be able to get that type of position and get that clearance. Yet they're still doing these things to treat me like I'm a terrorist, harassing me as I go to my job. So anyway, so I've been documenting these things for 2 years. They know about the fact that I have clear evidence, and they don't like that stuff being put out there because it shows that these people are dishonest criminals who knowingly partake in these activities. They all know what it is. It's well known throughout these professions, and the reason they recruit people and then get them into Freemasonic lodges is because in the Freemasonic lodges, they take oaths of silence. And those oaths come before anything else in their lives, even their families. And so that comes into direct conflict with people who are in public service positions who have also taken oaths to serve and protect. So I have no doubt that this individual, because he's given immunity to do these ridiculous things, to provoke and to harass me as I'm on my way to my job, and then when I just simply speak to him to document the activity so as to get him on camera, you could see anytime they're in a situation where the truth is being told in front of them, they call people to swarm you because they can't defend their actions. First of all, they aren't intelligent enough to be able to engage in conversation that defends these criminal actions, which they know are criminal actions. But they also know that because the court system is so corrupt, that they have been given virtual immunity because it's very difficult to get a lawyer to assist you to file a lawsuit against people like this who are doing this, because Masonry has such a heavy influence within the legal system as well, and so many prominent lawyers are Masons, and if they aren't Masons, someone will be sent to warn them not to accept, not to take a case for somebody who is dealing with these harassment campaigns. Another thing is employment blacklisting that comes along with this, simply for exposing this criminal harassment and corruption. I am essentially being employment blacklisted. I currently am working, but I can't get any other employment. I can't get a second job. And prior to this going on, I was able to easily get a job, very easily. Now I send out application after application, and they're all declined for no valid reason. And it's part of this because what this whole situation is, it's about essentially destroying a person's life. And they do it to people for various reasons. In some cases, it's revenge against family members, which for me, I think it is. I think it goes back a few generations. And it could be that someone in your family spoke out, exposed corruption, was a whistleblower. These people, because Masonry has such tremendous influence within these public service positions, will literally be enlisted to partake in these activities. And it is run through CSIS in this country. So what they do is they will create scenarios where they open up fake investigations against people with no criminal record, people who've done nothing wrong, simply for, some of them could be truth speakers, whistleblowers, people who have exposed corruption, or it could be, again, like I said, retaliatory against a family member going back generations, and they literally want to destroy that person's family. While I'm not going to go into too many more personal details right now, number of members on one side of the family, I believe these things were done to them, and it led to very early deaths for these people as well, which is not something I'm going to talk about now. Now, all of these people, like Alex Galipeau, know fully well about these things, and they know fully well what they're doing. But these things are set up in situations where they try and cloak it in plausible deniability. And if you had seen that scenario tonight one time, then they could cling to plausible deniability. But that claim becomes illegitimate when you see my evidence of how these criminals have been engaged in this harassment campaign against me for 2 years, and how prior to that, the Toronto Police and Toronto Fire Department were doing exactly the same things prior to my moving from there to get away from this criminal harassment. So all of these first responders take part in this. All of them know it's completely illegitimate, and it amounts to criminal harassment of law-abiding citizens who have done nothing wrong, and they are being put on these hit lists for revenge and or various other reasons. Some cases exposing corruption. My videos have clearly exposed that these people are 100% illegitimate, and because they're not ever going to come out and admit that, they can only retaliate this way by using deceit, manipulation, and these tactics that they use to criminally harass, and these psychological harassment tactics that they've been doing for 2 years. So I'm going to do more and more of exposing the specific people who are involved in this, because these people try to hide behind this guise that they're actually, good people who are protecting the community. In fact, they're criminal liars, psychopaths, and deranged people. And many of them are actually sociopaths, so they can go back to their regular lives and just live regular lives. But what it comes down to is being involved in Freemasonry, their loyalty is always going to be there. And so when they do these things, their actions are completely covered up. So they've been given assurances that there will be no repercussions for these actions. And if ever they're confronted about these crimes that they're committing, these things that they're doing that clearly are criminal harassment activities, they will not engage in conversation for the most part, or they will just dismiss it and laugh. That's, again, if you look into Masonic diversion tactics, these are the exact same things that are listed there, these strategies they use to try and deflect away if they're ever confronted about these things that they're doing. And so because they know I have extensive evidence of the things they're doing, they have to continue to do these things, because they're not going to come out and admit that this is purposeful harassment and intimidation. They always have to lie. They always have to hide behind a veil of false legitimacy. They're not legitimate. They get paid to do virtually no legitimate work. They're ripping off taxpayers. And this individual, Alex Galipeau, who was sent to goad me into that conversation tonight, he was sent to do that because they know I would come over to get the footage, because he's essentially sent there to stalk right near where I'm working. And they knew I would have to go by there. They knew I would want to get the footage, and I just wanted to get him on camera. So to show who the person was who was involved in this. And they've had people, like I've said, you've seen these people if you watch my videos, doing this for over 2 years. They show up wherever I go, and then they lie incessantly and try and invert the situation and blame me. Canada, we have our entire judicial system has been infiltrated with people who have been put in to condone these activities. Now, this person here is another criminal, abusive psychopath. His name is Special Constable Flint. He's another person who I had a brief exchange with, and he did the same thing as what Mr. Galipeau did. They will always avoid any real conversation about the facts because they know they're involved in criminal harassment and stalking. And so they will always do anything to surround you, swarm you, attempt to intimidate you, anything to avoid real conversation about these crimes that they're committing, about the criminal harassment that they're involved in, also because they know it's being recorded. So Constable Flint is an absolute psychopath. He is, he's a sergeant with the Special Constables. And He was the individual who they called that day when I went onto an area of the station to ask one of these constables who had literally driven up right in front of my workplace the moment I was leaving. I simply went up to request her details and informed her that I was filing a lawsuit for criminal harassment against the Ottawa Special Constables for their continued criminal stalking of me everywhere I would go for an extended period of time. When I did that, she said, "Get away from here, go over to the other area, and then I'll come over and talk to you and provide you with the details." You can see that in the video clearly. On that occasion, they never trespassed me at all. There was nothing said, "You've been trespassed here." So I think Mr. Galipeau may have been referring to that situation tonight when he lied and said I had previously been trespassed from the station, when that never happened. Unless, of course, they created some false document after the fact. But if they had actually trespassed me that day, after they left, they allowed me to go back into the train station and get on the train. So if I had been trespassed, my video clearly shows I would have been asked to leave the property. They never trespassed me that day. They never said you're trespassed. But I did have the misfortune of having a brief conversation with this psychopath, Constable Freemason Frankenstein Flint, who was sent with his big fake steroid body to come up and try and intimidate me. And when I simply explained to him that I had just approached one of the constables to ask for her information and told her very clearly the reason why, because I wanted her information, because she had shown up directly in front of my workplace, and because they had been doing these same things right as I had left too. So it was coordinated literally right as I stepped off the property. They drove up in front of my workplace. You can also see another picture of him on here. I don't have it right here, but where he and his fellow constables are all wearing masks and walking around ensuring that everyone who gets on transit is putting on a mask. Okay? Now, not going to go further into that, but if you're awake and you know what's going on, you know the type of tyranny that was going on there. And it's not surprising, again, what does it come back to here? These public servants in Freemasonry. So they're given free passes to commit criminal acts. They're paid ridiculously overpaid. This is another guy here who's been sent on numerous occasions, Josh Gibbold. We'll go into more about him in future videos because I want to do a more extensive video about him because his family has ties, of course, to the fire department and paramedics, as well as the Canadian military. So you see how it's all interconnected, and of course Freemasonry as well. And of course they get these cushy jobs where this is Mr. Galipeau. He's making less than most of them. He's only making $109,381 per year to stalk, harass, and intimidate law-abiding citizens while getting paid to sit in his car playing with his cell phone doing no legitimate work. So that's what he's getting paid to do that. So all these things are interconnected, and it all comes back to these people being involved in Freemasonry, and that's where a lot of this corruption comes in. And that's another thing is why they're immune to any real legitimate legal action. They've been told and promised that if they do these things, it'll be very, very difficult for the person who they're harassing to take any legal action. Also because people like myself have literally been blacklisted. So if I go to a lawyer with any of this, they'll just approach the lawyer and have the lawyer, at least if it's a prominent lawyer who could really do something about it, and then they'll have the lawyer say, "No, I can't help you," or they'll have the lawyer just say, "Oh no, that sounds like you've got a few screws loose or something," simply for showing them proof that these people, all first responder positions and all of these public servants, actively take part in these criminal harassment campaigns. And another thing it ties into is this communitarian system that we have currently active in Canada. So they have entire communities that are set up so that if anyone who is being harassed in this way moves to a different area, they immediately have people who are trained in these harassment techniques, and that person will be mobbed by the community, continually harassed, even just for going out of their home to go to their job. They'll be stalked by police officers, constables, members of the fire department. They all actively take part in this, and their involvement in it is very important. That is one of the keys to exposing this criminal corruption. But again, it goes higher than these people. These people are just the street-level pawns that they use to do the dirty work. And they're fine with it because all these people care about is materialism. They have no real conscience. They'll protect their fellow Masons because they create a bond among these people. that makes it easier because there's a groupthink mentality. And so when they participate in these harassment activities, because there's a whole group partaking in it, it's easier for them to kind of con one person into thinking, you know, this is the right thing to do. And they continually will use lies and slander campaigns in order to justify the harassment of these people, these law-abiding citizens who have done nothing wrong, who they harass in this way. And that's what Masonry does. It's dishonorable. It's all about lying, deception, having 20 people swarm and mob one person because these people have no honor or integrity. Now, going back maybe 20, 30 years, you probably would find some semi-decent people involved in the police, involved in public service positions. But these people always had influence there. But now it's to the point where they have so much influence that the entire organizations are simply illegitimate criminal organizations. And so my documentation has shown that extensively, and they don't like that. And so you can see they're doing anything possible now to even literally make excuses to ban me from being able to take public transit to get to my job, for which I'm barely getting by. I'm barely making a little bit over minimum wage, because they want to force me into homelessness simply for exposing this corruption. That's what it's about. It's about blacklisting a person to ruin their life and force them into homelessness. Now, when I lived in Toronto 3 years ago, I had a good paying job when this stuff started to happen. From that point on, I'm now in a position where I'm making barely above minimum wage. And that is all by design. They will mob you out of your workplace positions. They will do things to force you out of your jobs. The Ottawa police have been involved in criminally harassing me at my previous job to the point where I reported it, and as soon as I reported it, without any explanation, the Freemason who runs that company, the vice president, called me to a meeting and said, yeah, we're going to terminate you. And I said, well, can you give me a reason? He would give no reason. It was simply because I exposed the criminal harassment of the Ottawa police, continually showing up to harass me at my workplace and while I was traveling to and from work. So these people are given immunity to commit criminal acts, and they always have to try to create some false scenario to try and say that the people who they're doing these things to are unbalanced or whatever, simply for documenting their activities. That's the only thing they can do, because they know what they're doing is a gross abuse of human rights, and it amounts to criminal activities. And essentially what the end goal is to force the person into homelessness and to force them to essentially to an early death. So it's essentially a slow kill murder campaign, and Masonry is 100% involved, and these people are all involved in Masonry, and that's how they're able to get away with this. So it's very difficult for someone like me to be able to hold them accountable in their legal system because it's so corrupt. But anyway, I'm going to continue to document these things. Again, these people are protected in these criminal activities, and it's important that the specific people involved in these things be called out, because they don't want the people who they're doing this to be able to have any type of voice. They want to dehumanize the people who they're doing this to. They want to lie about them. They want to create false dossiers to go around slandering them in order to justify having people mob them in their communities, harass them everywhere they go, block them from even being able to get employment. That's what this is, and it is absolutely criminal, and it goes against all basic human rights and dignities. And so I want to continue to expose the people who have been involved in these things, and I will continue to do so. But this gentleman right here, Alex Galipeau, $109,381 per year. That's what he made in 2023. I don't know what he's going to make this year. I'm sure it'll go up, for sitting in his car, getting paid to do nothing, and being sent to criminally harass me all over different locations wherever I'm going, and then trying to invert the situation, blame me for his harassment, and calling people up to mob me, and completely shut down any conversation when he's confronted over these activities. That is because he is a dishonorable, dishonest criminal with no integrity, like all of these Freemasons in these public service positions are.